Eren Yeager's entire plan only worked because he already knew the future. But the future only happened because he made the plan. So which one came first? Today, we are breaking down 5 plot holes in Attack on Titan that even the most dedicated fans struggle to fully explain. And the first one might be the single most mind-bending contradiction in modern anime. Attack on Titan, one of the most ambitious, tightly plotted, and emotionally devastating series ever created. Hajime Isayama spent over a decade building a world with deep political history, complex bloodlines, and a mystery box structure that rewarded patient viewers with payoff after payoff. For the most part, the writing holds together with extraordinary discipline. This is not a series that throws random twists without setup. Almost everything is foreshadowed. Almost everything connects. But almost is the key word. Because when a story builds a system this intricate, involving time travel, adjacent mechanics, inherited memories, royal bloodlines, and ancient curses, even small cracks in the logic become very hard to ignore once you notice them. Just like always, I want to be clear about what actually qualifies here. A character making a devastating decision is not a plot hole. A morally complicated choice is not a plot hole. What we are specifically looking for are moments where the story's own established rules contradict themselves. Attack on Titan has 5 of these, and the first one alone has been debated by fans for years without a clean resolution. Let's get into it. Plot hole. Number 1. Eren's time travel paradox. Let's start with the big one. The plot hole that lives at the very center of the entire endgame. The Attack Titan has a unique power among all 9 Titans. Its current holder can briefly glimpse the memories of past holders. But more importantly, the founding holder, Eren, also gains the ability to perceive flashes of the future, specifically the memories of future holders of the Attack Titan, because his consciousness exists connected to all of them across time simultaneously. This is how Eren plans the rumbling. He sees fragments of what is coming. He acts based on knowledge that, from his perspective, already happened. Here is where the paradox becomes inescapable. Eren only decides to commit to the path of the rumbling because he sees memories of himself already having walked that path. He commits to mass destruction because future Eren already committed to it. But future Eren only committed to it because past Eren saw him commit to it and acted accordingly to make it happen. There is no original point where the decision was actually made independently. It is a closed loop. Cause and effect feeding into each other infinitely with no starting moment. The show frames this as something close to predestination. Eren describing his actions as something he has no real choice in, since he already saw himself doing it. But the story still wants us to believe Eren has agency, that his love for his friends and his hatred of the world are real emotional drivers behind his choice. You cannot have both. Either the timeline is fixed and Eren never had a real choice, making his entire arc deterministic rather than tragic. Or he does have a choice, in which case the entire premise of seeing the future and acting on it collapses, because the future he saw should not be fixed at all. Isayama never resolves this contradiction cleanly. The narrative wants the emotional weight of free will and the mechanical convenience of a fixed timeline at the same time. And those two things cannot coexist logically. Plot hole. Number 2. Memory inheritance makes no consistent sense. Here is one that creates problems every single time a Titan power changes hands throughout the series. When a Titan shifter eats another shifter, they inherit that person's memories. This is established clearly and used as a major plot device multiple times. Eren eating his father Grisha, Reiner, and the other warriors carrying Marleyan history, Eren later eating Reiner adjacent fighters in different contexts. But the way this memory transfer functions is wildly inconsistent depending on what the story needs in that specific moment. When Eren consumes Grisha's Titan and inherits the Attack and Founding Titans, the memory transfer is slow and fragmented. He gets disjointed flashes over the course of years, requiring Historia and Grisha's own memories to be pieced together gradually across multiple seasons. But other characters demonstrate near-instant and complete access to inherited knowledge. Reiner immediately understands sophisticated tactical and political context from his armored Titan inheritance, almost as soon as he receives the power. with very little of the fragmented confusion Eren experiences. If memory inheritance worked consistently, Eren should have had immediate and comprehensive access to literally everything Grisha knew the moment he gained the power, including the full picture of the Founder's basement, the truth about the outside world, and crucially, the exact plan for the rumbling itself, all far earlier than the story actually reveals it to him. The slow drip reveal of Grisha's memories exists purely because the plot needed Eren's knowledge to be revealed gradually for narrative pacing. But that pacing requirement directly contradicts how memory inheritance is shown working for other characters in the same universe. Plot hole. Number 3. The Founding Titan's royal blood requirement keeps shifting. This one strikes right at the heart of the entire royal family mythology. The Founding Titan is established with a very specific and crucial rule. Its full power, the ability to control all Titans and erase or alter human memory on a massive scale, can only be wielded by someone of royal Fritz bloodline. This rule is treated as absolute. It is the entire reason the Rice family exists in hiding. It is why Historia's identity matters so much. It is why Rod Rice is so desperate to force a transformation in his own bloodline. And then Eren, who has no royal blood whatsoever, ends up controlling the Founding Titan's power well enough to commit the single largest act of Titan manipulation in the story's history during the rumbling. The explanation given is that Grisha forcibly took the Founding Titan from Frida Rice and passed it to Eren, and that Eren's connection through time travel paradox memory sharing with future events allows him workaround access despite lacking the bloodline. But this explanation undercuts the entire weight. The story spent dozens of episodes building around royal blood being an unbreakable requirement. If a non-royal can simply seize the power through forceful transfer and time perception tricks, then the entire political structure built around protecting the bloodline, generations of hidden royal families, memory wiping, the entire Rice conspiracy, was never actually the load-bearing wall the story told us it was. The rule is established as absolute specifically to create dramatic stakes around Historia's identity. Then it is quietly worked around because the plot needed Eren, not a royal, to be the one driving the endgame. Plot hole. Number 4. Nobody discovered the Wall Titans. For over a century. This one is a world-building logic problem that becomes harder to accept the more you think about the scale involved. The walls surrounding humanity are revealed to be constructed almost entirely from compressed titans, an army of nearly 100,000 colossal-sized titans embedded in the stone, ready to be released by anyone with royal blood and a hardening titan's touch. This is presented as one of the best-kept secrets in human history, hidden for over 100 years. But during that century, the walls were directly involved in combat multiple times. Titans broke through Wall Maria. Pieces of the wall were damaged and assaulted on numerous occasions before the story even begins. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists studied the wall's composition for generations, attempting to understand its construction and durability, since understanding their primary defense against extinction would obviously be a national priority. For over 100 years, not a single crack, breach, excavation, or scientific study ever exposed a hint of what the walls were actually made of. No stray piece ever showed Titan tissue. No researcher digging foundations or repairing damaged sections ever stumbled onto something they could not explain. Given how central wall integrity is to human survival in this world, and how many incidents over a century could have exposed even a sliver of this secret, the complete and total success of this cover-up strains the internal logic the series otherwise applies so carefully to nearly everything else. Plot hole. Number 5. The Ackerman bloodline. Power is never actually explained. And finally, the one that has bothered sharp-eyed fans since the earliest seasons. Members of the Ackerman bloodline, including Mikasa, Levi, and Kenny, demonstrate physical capabilities that go well beyond what ordinary human training could produce. Superhuman reflexes, combat ability that consistently outperforms even highly trained Survey Corps soldiers, a unique awakening mechanism that activates under extreme stress or a sense of devotion, granting an even greater spike in power. This is treated as a real and significant biological phenomenon within the story. Multiple characters comment on it directly. It clearly exists as an established rule of this universe. But Attack on Titan, for almost everything else in its world, goes out of its way to ground its power systems in internal logic. Titan biology is explained in detail. The science of hardening, regeneration, and steam emission gets actual explanations through dialogue and exposition across the series. The Ackerman power is the one major exception. It is never given a scientific basis. It is never explained through Titan history, royal experimentation, or any connection to the wider mythology the show spends so much effort building. It simply exists, treated as fact, with characters acknowledging its strangeness, but never actually investigating or explaining where it came from. For a series this committed to explaining the mechanics behind nearly every other supernatural element in its world, leaving an entire bloodline's superhuman ability as an unexplained exception is a noticeable gap in the story's own commitment to internal consistency. So there it is. 5 plot holes in one of the most carefully constructed anime stories ever made. And I want to be clear, Attack on Titan remains one of the greatest achievements in the medium. The political complexity, the moral ambiguity, the way Isayama makes you sympathize with characters you should hate, none of these plot holes undo any of that. But the cracks are real. The time travel paradox especially is something I have never seen a single fan fully resolve, no matter how many essays and theories I have read trying to explain it away. Now I want to hear from you. Do you have an explanation for Eren's time paradox that actually holds up? Because I have been searching for one for years. Drop it in the comments. Subscribe for more anime plot hole breakdowns every day. I will see you in the next one.